Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome back to 10 Count. I'm Steve Fall, but on today's edition, I am talking to an Intercontinental Champion, an NWA Heavyweight Champion, an AWA Tag Team Champion. It's Ken Patera. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. I like your enthusiasm, brother. It brings out your personality. I think you're a little hyper because I'm a little hyper. Yeah. But
this,
anyway,
this is me
yeah.
24/7. There's no such thing as sleep in my book because I'm always working, hanging out with my kids, doing what I love to do and talk to professional wrestlers like yourself. And today, again, Intercontinental Champion, the second ever Intercontinental Champion, defeating Pat Patterson. What is that situation like for you? Because I know the history of the IC title. It wasn't won in a tournament in Rio de Janeiro. It was handed to Pat
Yeah,
Patterson.
it was handed to him. So that makes me the first IC champion because I beat his ass right there in Madison Square Garden in 1981.
Oh my God.
How's that? How about rewriting history? I don't even have to make an attempt to rewrite it, but that's the truth.
Wow, this is true. Let me start over. The first ever Intercontinental Champion, Ken Patera. How you doing today? Because that's honestly the truth. Pat Patterson, what was up with that? Why was you think he was handed a championship and you had to earn the championship?
Yeah, well, politics. When Vince Jr. took over, well, Vince Sr. was still running the WWF. Yeah. But Junior was in the background being groomed by his father to take over all this shit. Well, the old man used to give Junior, Vince, the guy that runs it now, he would always give him a chores, let's say. Okay, Sonny, you do this, you do that, you do it your way, and I'll be there. If you fuck up, then I'll take the reins back. But that's how all that was. And so anyway, Junior wanted to put it on Pat Patterson, and his dad agreed. Well, Pat was in the office at that time too. Besides wrestling, he was like the booker, assistant booker. I don't know exactly what the hierarchy was, how it was structured back then, but I do know the old man Vince, he ran everything.
Wow. And so what was your relationship like with Vince McMahon, the man who eventually took over from Senior McMahon, Junior McMahon? Because there's a lot of stories over the years with many people. What was your relationship like?
With the guy that runs it now?
Yeah.
With Junior?
Yeah.
Hell, we were good friends. We were buddies. Back in 76 when I first went there. People don't understand, but I used to come and go. I'd come in for a year and a half, then I'd go, to where I felt that I could do better. And it always worked out good. But anyway, we used to go up and down the East Coast together. He had a big blue, what the hell was it, a Lincoln? I think it was a Lincoln, one of those big boats.
Yeah.
The cars back then were huge. And so anyway, Vince would call me and says, hey, well, I'm trying to open up Bangor, Maine in a couple months, but I have to go up there and set up the TV studio and stuff. And I always ask him, I said, did your dad give you the okay? Oh, yeah. So I meet him at a designated location there in usually in New Haven, Connecticut.
Yeah.
And then we'd speed off to the Great White North up there to Bangor, Maine. And for people that don't know where that's at, it's way in the hell up there. It's almost to Montreal.
It's up there.
Canada.
It is up there.
Yeah, it's way up there. So I'll tell you a funny story. The first time we were up there, it was lunchtime as we were pulling into Bangor off the freeway. And uh, Vince looks at me and he says, "You hungry?" I said, "I'm starving." "You like seafood?" I said, "I love seafood." Boom. The seafood restaurant right there on the docks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right on the ocean. Yeah. And so we pulled in there, went in, sat down, and I ordered a seafood platter. The seafood platter was enormous.
I bet you could eat it though.
Oh yeah, I didn't have any trouble. So Vince ordered the same thing, and he ordered his fried. I ordered mine broiled, and so he takes the ketchup bottle, dumps half a bottle of ketchup all over that beautiful seafood.
No.
Oh, I said, "Vince, are you eating seafood with ketchup?" "Yeah, I love ketchup." Okay, because I had never eaten with him before. And this is 1977. And so anyway, I couldn't get over how he ruined that seafood with a half a bottle of ketchup. I say that's sacrilege, you know.
It's true. It's true.
Oh yeah.
It's certain people, like for instance, your French fries. I love French fries, but there's certain people who dip a French fry or take the ketchup and go all over your cat. And I'm like, I'm a dipper. I like to dip. I'm a dipper of the French fry. But when you cake your entire French fries with ketchup, if you don't eat those are ruined forever. You cannot bring those home from the restaurant.
Oh yeah, they're all soggy.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Same. I dip my food in the sauces.
Yeah, Vince McMahon and we all hear crazy stories, but the craziest I think I've ever heard is him ruining a beautiful thing of seafood.
Oh yeah,
with ketchup.
Back then, a seafood platter that big, it was expensive. It was like $6.95. $7. That thing now would be $50.
I was gonna say I didn't know what number you're about to toss out, but I'm like $7.
Yeah,
but also you said 1977, $7, a lot of money. You go forward in time, 2023, you would not get a platter this big for $7. It would be $70 probably, like you said.
You won't even get a platter that big.
Oh no, they'd be like, here you go, sir. Here's your platter. How much is this? $70. I'm sorry, what? That's too much.
Exactly.
That's hilarious. And probably stories like that will be in your book that is coming out, The Weight of the World. Now, why now? Why come out with a book? Because, you've had so many stories to share. You have lessons learned in life. And there it is. Oh, it looks so beautiful. Look at that luscious hair. I wish I had that hair too.
Yeah, how many pages? This thing's 450.
450 pages.
456 pages of excitement.
Yeah.
And it starts off with my childhood, like when I was like 4 or 5 years old. I remember all that shit. And so then it builds, I go through grade school, high school, college. And then the weightlifting, the Olympic Games, the Pan American Games, World Championships, National Championships. And I was famous before I even got into pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah, wrestling fans know that, but other people don't know. Oh, Ken Patera, never heard of him. Why, you fucking asshole, you've been living in a closet or what?
Or not doing, or not looking at any information beyond just the WWF. There's a world outside of that organization as well.
Yeah, I wrestled in almost every territory, except those on the West Coast and Florida. All the rest I wrestled in. Yeah. So anyway, then I go into the AWA out of Minneapolis, and then Texas territory with Fritz von Erich.
Yeah.
That was before his boys were wrestling. They were like 8, 9, 10 years old back in those days. I was
Yeah.
there a little before, but I did wind up wrestling those little pricks. I wrestled them all. Kevin, David, Kerry. I wrestled them all in St. Louis, Missouri,
Huh.
of all places. Yeah, Sam Mushnick was the promoter in St. Louis back in the day, and and they had the NWA heavyweight belt, and so I wrestled. I think Harley Race, Ric Flair for sure. I wrestled him 2 or 3 times in St. Louis. Same with Harley and Terry Funk, and then I wrestled. I wrestled all the old timers. Dick the Bruiser.
Oh yeah.
I lost the Missouri State Championship belt to Dick the Bruiser when he was in his 60s, and he could hardly get in the fucking ring. So, and on that particular occasion, Bobby Heenan was my manager. And so after the match, Dick the Bruiser came over to Bobby and says, God, that was a great match, wasn't it, Bobby? He says, I didn't have to do anything. I just stood in one place and Ken worked around me and made me look like $1,000,000. And Bobby said, well, he knew that you weren't going to do anything. So because you can't do anything. And so that's how that went down. God, those were fun days. Those were fun days.
It seems like too through the history that you were really one of the initial members of the Heenan family, and that is a notorious faction and a stable in professional wrestling from one organization to another. What was that like traveling with Bobby Heenan? Because again, people look at him as the greatest manager of all time. You were managed by him. What was that experience?
Well, that started off in the AWA.
Yeah.
Because I think you're referring to the WWF.
No,
right?
he had a Heenan family before the WWF. He brought that over, but you are really part. If you look at the history of the Heenan family in other organizations, you are like one of the first members of that family.
Yeah, I sure was, and I think most of that's been lost to history now.
Well, we're here to bring back the history of the world, to know the true history of these things didn't just exist in one organization. These traveled from town to town, from organization to organization. So do you have any Bobby Heenan road stories? Because I think we all love Bobby Heenan so much, but we didn't get to experience life side by side like you did.
Oh, I have hundreds of road stories, but I'm going to tell you one. It lasted for about 6 weeks.
Oh God!
And that's when we were in the WF, and we were in Houston, Texas, St. Louis, Missouri. Then we were in Chicago. God, we were all over the place. But every time we checked into a hotel, motel, I'd go up, check us in, and because we on those road trips we always shared a room, and usually by the time we checked in it was like midnight or later, and I'd go up and I'd ask the girl receptionist for a room. She'd sign us in, give me a key. I said, where's this room at? Down the hallway, last room on the left. I said, really? Okay. So the next night, same thing. Where's the room at? Down the hall to the left. Now, this is a different hotel. Every night was a different hotel. One night it might be the Hyatt Regency. The next night might be a Hilton Hotel or Marriott or something, whatever. And so for the first 7 or 8 days that we checked in, I'd always ask where, directions to the room. Go down that hallway, last room on the left. I'm not making this up because at the time there was a horror movie out, and the name of the horror movie was Last Room
Last.
on the Left. A scary, scary movie. And like on the sixth or seventh night, Bobby's looking at me. He said, "This is uncanny. This is unreal. Last room on the left every fucking night." I said, "Well, I don't know anything about it." So anyway, uh, like on the seventh night, I go to put the key in the lock, and I said, "Bobby, it's your turn. You put the key in the lock and open the door. I've been doing it all along." He's a fucking manager. He should be carrying my
No
bags and
kidding.
opening the door and everything. And I was a jabroni. So anyway, we get in the room, and I said, "Shit," because you opened the door, you scared them off. There's no ghosts in here. There's no hatchet men in here. No people with chainsaws to cut us up. And but anyway, that was just a hilarious trip. And last room on the left, I'll never forget it.
Oh my God. I can't believe that just kept happening to you. Maybe the hotel just wanted to spook you. I don't know. They were just having fun with
Yeah,
wrestlers. I get
right. Exactly. Of course, by the time we checked in, we were fucking drunk.
right. Well, a little tired too, I imagine as well.
Yeah,
So
we usually had a 12-pack of beer or sometimes a case, and we get in the room and boom, boom, drink until we passed out or, just got tired and went to sleep. Yeah.
yeah, I can imagine being on the road is very tiring. Um, though for years, if no one knew of you in your weightlifting or professional wrestling, they did know a story that we're going to talk about right now. According to reports, now this is according, April 16th, 1984, you're denied service at a McDonald's restaurant. Now, again, this is going to be, I'm going to read off what I've read, and then I want to hear your real story because I don't think all this is 100% true.
Okay.
McDonald's restaurant, according to story, you're angry. You threw a rock through a window, but you claimed that the employee threw the rock, but you received blame for this as well. And they were the wrestler. You assaulted police officers. They came to your hotel. There's a fight. People are injured. You're eventually arrested and you're sentenced to jail, for prison for 2 years. Yet this is the first time, your first offense ever, but yet a heavy hand comes down, 2 years in prison. So explain to me actually what happened that night and how ridiculous it is to give someone 2 years for the first offense.
Yeah. Well, politics. There's politics in everything. The judge and district attorney, the DA prosecuted the case against me and Masa Saito, Japanese wrestler from Japan. And so uh, for for I, for about a year and a half, we were trying to get the trial started while they'd block it and extend it. And every week in Waukesha, Wisconsin newspaper, there'd be a hit story on us every week. And, just denigrating us like monsters from outer space that came down to their little town to beat up their police department. Well, the way that started, we were in Watertown, Wisconsin that night in a tag team match against Mad Dog Vachon and the Crusher. And Mad Dog had hit Saito in the knee with a chair, with a steel folding chair.
Yeah.
Accidentally hit him too hard and, really screwed his knee up. His fucking knee was like that. He couldn't walk. So anyway, we were in Vern Gagne's twin engine Navajo airplane. So after the match in Watertown, we got on the plane, flew over to Waukesha. We land, so some people picked us up from the hotel, drove us up to the Holiday Inn. We get to the Holiday Inn and we start drinking in the bar, thinking that we were going to be able to order room service or something, food.
Yeah.
Well, they'd closed the restaurant. So couldn't get any food at the motel. So I asked the bartender, a girl, I said, is there any place to get food around here? Oh yeah, there's a McDonald's right at the bottom of the hill. They're open late. So I told Saito, I said, well, by that time we had left the bar because it was closed. We went to our room. I told Saito, I said, your knee's screwed up. I'll walk down there. We didn't have any transportation because we were flying.
Right.
So I get down the McDonald's and I'm banging on the door because the door was locked. All the lights were on. There's a ton of people in there, but it was a TV crew and they were shooting a commercial. And they had two platters there, big platters. Must have been 50 quarter pounders on each platter. So I asked the kid that came to the drive-up window. I had to walk around to the drive-up window. I said, how much are the hamburgers? They're not for sale. I said, not for sale? What the fuck? He said, well, I said, those platters over there, they're loaded with hamburgers. Well, those are for a TV commercial that we're shooting. I said, oh, that's why the cameras and all the people in there is. And the guy said, yeah, they're all employees. So I said, okay. I said, what's it going to take? I'll give you $50 for 4 hamburgers. And no, I can't sell them. He said they're over an hour old anyway, so it'd be against the law to sell them to. I said, holy shit. I said, is there any place else around here to get a hamburger? Nope, everything's closed. Yeah, but this time it's 12:30. So anyway, at that time, I'm at the drive-up window standing outside. It was winter time. This kid comes up and throws up, and there's a rock garden around the perimeter of McDonald's. So he picks up a good sized boulder, I don't know, 25, 30 pounds, and he picks it up and boom, he throws it through the fucking side window, the drive-up window, knocks it out. And the kid, I saw him, the kid that was waiting on me, he ducked and ran back in the restaurant. And I said, fuck. So I just turned around to go back up to the Holiday Inn. And I looked at that kid, he was about 18, 19 years old. I said, why in the hell did you throw that rock through the window? He says, those assholes, fuck them. He said, they fired me last week. I says, well, what, you have bad attitude? No, it was just, so one of the managers didn't like me and he fired me. I said, so that enabled you to get pissed off enough to throw a rock through their window? Anyway, I got blamed for it. So about a half an hour after that happened, I'm in my room talking to my wife on the phone about 12:30 at night, and the cops are banging on the door. I said, Saito, see who that is. And I thought it was just some other wrestlers because there was about 8 or 9 of us staying there. He opens up the door and there's 2 fucking cops standing out there in the hallway. Is Ken Patera here? Because the kid that waited on me at McDonald's, he says, you're Ken Patera, aren't you? I says, yeah, I'm hungry. I need some hamburgers. And so Saito understood English real good, but he didn't speak a lot of it. Besides, he was a bashful type guy. So anyway, I hear him going back and forth. And so I get off I told my wife, I said, I'm going to hang up, and told her what was going on at the door. I said, I'll call you back in a little bit. So I go up to the door, and the cops say, we want to come in and search your room. I said, for what? I didn't do anything. I didn't, thinking that I stole something or whatever. I don't know what the hell they were thinking,
Right.
what we were going to find. So anyway, they're out in the hallway. They want to come in now. I said, well, fuck. Do you have a search warrant? No, we don't need a search warrant. I said, yes, you do. And anyway, I don't know how. Anyway, Saito wound up out in the hallway, with the two cops. I'm still in the room. And all of a sudden, and there was a guy cop and a girl cop. This girl cop turns out to be 19 years old, about 5'9", skinny as a rail, looked like Popeye's girlfriend, Olive Oil. And so she pulls out the mace, and I don't see this because Saito's sitting in between us. She goes like this, Saito ducks, and she hits me right in the eyes. I didn't have my glasses on. I left them on the nightstand when I was talking to my wife. So anyway, I'm fucking blind now. I'd never been maced before in my life. And so Saito ducks. I get it into the face now. I'm fucking pissed. And I'm starving. I'm a little drunk, not real drunk, but anyway, all shit breaks loose in the hallway. And we had the two cops down on the carpet, and the hallway was only like 4 feet wide, very narrow hallway. Next thing I know, there's 16 cops on top of us with billy clubs, guns, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
It was a fucking setup. How in the hell did 16 cops get down there to back up 2 cops?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we stacked them up like kindling wood. I mean, we fucked them up because they're beating on us, if they hadn't started beating on us, nothing would have happened.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, we after I don't know 3-4 minutes, the guy that knocked on our door, he pulls his gun out, and he fucking shaking like a leaf. And his name was John Dillinger. Is that name right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he was a famous gangster from back in the 30s.
Yeah. That's why I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. His name was John Dillinger, of all things. So anyway, I said, put your gun away. He said, I'm going to fucking blow you away. So anyway, we let him put the handcuffs on us and take us out of the motel. And fucking cops laying all over the place. And well, they started it, what the fuck. And so anyway, we went to the county jail there in Waukesha, Wisconsin. The next morning, we bailed ourselves out. It was a ridiculous bail. Like back in those days, like $150,000 bail. Fuck. But and then the newspaper report and the radio and TV stations, they were all there the next day, So anyway, I had, I don't know, maybe I'd been on the road for a week, and back in those days, we always get paid after the show, whether mainly cash. I had like $25,000 in my fanny pack. So then they accused me of selling drugs. Nobody can make this kind of money wrestling. You got to be selling drugs. I didn't fucking sell a drug in my life. So anyway, I had the cash to bail us out. And anyway, then we had to get lawyers and everything. And finally, a court date was set. And we were entitled to a quick and speedy trial. They postponed it for over about a year and 3 months. And that way they were able to build a case against these two mean monster wrestlers. And we went to court. We didn't have a fucking chance. I mean, we had good lawyers, but they.
So then whatever happened to that McDonald's employee who threw the rock through the window initially?
He was the mystery man. Yeah, they didn't they said they didn't know who it was. They knew who it was, but they never contacted him, and so he just skated, and
Wow.
we took the blame, and so anyway, a typical sentence for that type of offense was 30 days in jail and a $200 fine. We got a $50 fine and 2 years in jail for that bullshit. And so talk about a railroad job. So I hired an attorney to appeal it. At first, the appellate court wouldn't even take the case. Well, you're only getting 2 years. You'll be out in a year and a half. So they denied me bail on the appeal. So now I'm sitting in fucking prison. And finally, my lawyer shows up and he looks at that. He said, "This is bullshit, Ken." He says, that other lawyer that represented you, that defended you, is a cokehead. I said, "What?" "Yeah, he's a drug addict." And the judge and DA knew that. So they used that bullshit against you and the cops and Saito. And so the whole thing was just a fuck job. So I paid $75,000 to have the appeal. And of course, the judge, the DA, and the appellate court thumbs down. So now I have to, and this is after about 6 months. So I have to spend another year in that fucking stinking prison. And so that's the true story.
Right. I feel like you bring up that the mystery man here clearly in my brain connected to somebody, because the initial reaction of a rock being thrown through a window, there's clearly other people visually seeing this happen because of the shoot going on inside the McDonald's restaurant. So obviously there are more eyeballs or witnesses, but maybe, just maybe, that employee outside who got laid off knew someone, is the mayor's son type of deal, where like, we can't let that guy get in trouble because he's part of our society. Let's take down these big mean wrestlers.
Yeah, right, exactly. Well, the female cop that was involved in that, her father was in the same courthouse with the police department, the judges, and the DA in Waukesha. It was a small town, everything was consolidated.
Yeah.
So her father was a head coroner they're in the same building. And he was asshole buddies with that judge for like 40 years.
Okay.
And so it was everything was connected, boom. And we didn't have any connections or anything in that town. I did have a senator from Minnesota call over there and put a good word in for me. And no, it wasn't Jesse Ventura. He was governor.
I'll say I think he was governed in the year 2000 as well. So it
Yeah,
might have been a few years,
yeah,
a
yeah,
difference.
yeah, 20 years after the fact.
Wow.
But yeah, Jesse came to my birthday party back in November. And him and Jimmy Brunzell, they drove up from the. I live 100 miles north of Minneapolis now. I
Oh
live
wow.
here in God's country. Uh, Piles of snow outside and everything.
Yeah, people don't.
But anyway, yeah, they drove up and Jesse had just purchased a new electric car, a Tesla.
Oh,
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect him to be someone who's driving around in a Tesla.
Well, he always drove Porsches. He had two Porsches, sold them both, one for his wife and one for him. And he bought new Teslas.
Wow. I
And yeah, he says, Kenny, you got to get one of these. I says, well, fuck, I don't know. I don't even drive anymore, Jesse.
just buy one. You should just have it and sit in your garage.
Well, I'll tell you something. When this house now I built, and it's a big house. It's about 6,000 square feet. And the reason it's so big, and I live by myself. My daughter and her family live on the east end of it. I live on the west end, and there's a big garage, a workshop in the middle, and then she's a potter, so she has a pottery
Oh,
studio
nice.
and then she has a little store that's open to the public. And then they got 4 or 5 bedrooms, a couple bathrooms. And then she has this one area right off the great room. I don't know, 15, 16-foot ceilings, and she's got a big built-in hot tub
Ooh,
in there with, I don't know, 10, 12 jets,
that sounds
And
pretty good.
yeah, and she's kind of like a horticulturist too. I think she's growing marijuana in there. And no, I'm just
It's
kidding.
legal where I am. You can buy 12 plants if you want to.
Oh yeah, it's legal here in
Oh
Minnesota.
yeah, I was gonna say I don't study each state's laws on legalizing of marijuana, but I certainly am aware of the state I am in. And
Yeah.
two thumbs up to the government here in Massachusetts for pulling that off because it was a sad day. But though you were brought back to the WWF after you got out of prison, and they made a whole VHS tape about it, had a whole story about it, bringing you back the story, and even having debates with Bobby Heenan on TV, bringing up exactly what happened to you. How does this happen? Who reaches out to who? And are you comfortable with this story being brought not just on local television? This is on national TV now.
Yeah, well, Vince was sending me money or sending my wife money every month.
For when you were in prison this whole the 2 years?
Yeah, yeah, for 18
Wow.
months.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't have. I went from making 35, 40,000 a month to nothing.
That's right.
And so now she's cut off, and so I talked to him from prison, and he said, "Don't worry, Ken, I'll take care of her and the kids." So he had his accountant send her a check every month. I don't even remember how much it wasn't. It added up though. And so when I got out of prison a year and a half later, he called me and says, Ken, we don't have a place for what I want to do with you, but we don't have a place right now. Can you wait? Now, I got out in December. Can you wait until April, I believe it was? I said, yeah, no problem. When the time's right. And so we got everything, and he flew me back there to Connecticut to his new mansion, and we had a nice talk in the kitchen, and Linda was there, and the kids were upstairs. They were little then. Shane was, God, I don't remember,
Well,
10.
yeah, because this is what like 86, 87-ish. So yeah, they must have been very, very young.
Yeah, 87. And so Stephanie was even younger, maybe,
Yeah.
6, 7 years old. So Vince takes me on the house tour. It was a fucking huge house, indoor swimming pool, and he had the gym in there, big gym. And so it was a beautiful place. So, and that was before he was a billionaire.
Hey,
So
business was doing well, I guess.
yeah. So anyway, uh, that was before he took over the old AWA and where I started in '72. Right after the Olympic Games in Munich, Germany. So yeah, and so we had it all set up, and nice chat with Vince, and I'm going to start back in April, May, something like that, whenever it happens. So that's what happened. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. It's funny is you always hear, I don't know why, I guess bad news travels faster than good news. And everyone brings up bad stories of Vince McMahon versus good. And the fact that he was bringing money to your family while you were in prison, I think shows character. But obviously there are situations that require people to badmouth him for situations that were also involving you. In 2016, you became part of a class action lawsuit against the WWF, WWE at the time, which alleged that wrestlers had traumatic brain injuries during their tenure there. Why did you join this class action lawsuit? I know a lot of people did, a lot of wrestlers did, but
Yeah.
why did you want to be part of this?
Well, Billy Jack Haynes
Yep.
and I were tag team partners, right, on the tail end of our careers. So Billy called me and says, "Hey, Ken, I got this lawyer in Boston, and he won the lawsuit against the National Football League for traumatic brain injuries."
Wow.
And he said, I think the lawsuit was $1 billion against Vince and the WWF. Of course, the insurance covered all that shit, And I don't think the NFL got $1 billion, maybe 50 million or something, which is still a lot of money. But anyway, the law. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Because anyway, my brother Jack Patera was the first head coach of the Seattle Seahawks in 1976. And so I talked to my brother about that, and he says, nah, it didn't go anywhere. He said Vince might have a lot of money and a lot of good lawyers, but the NFL, you're not going to beat the NFL
No.
in a lawsuit like that, and which is, didn't go anywhere. So I was part of that. I signed on. The attorney there in Boston, I called him Wild Bill. I think he was a Greek guy. I don't remember his last name, but very personal. We're going to beat that fucking Vince McMahon. We're going to win millions of dollars for you guys. And there were 60 or 80 of us.
Oh, yeah, it's a big list.
Oh, it was a big list, yeah. And then they said, when you guys finally pass away, we want a waiver where we can take your brain and dissect it. I said, oh, like Albert Einstein? And well, yeah. And because we really don't know what traumatic brain injuries are. at this point. We think we do, but it's not crystal clear.
Right.
And I says, well, fuck, I don't know. I said, I'm going to be cremated. I said, I'm not going to get buried in the ground where the worms can eat me. So anyway, it didn't go anywhere.
Right. I talked to a few people who were involved in this class action lawsuit, and they suggest that since a lot of the court cases took place in Connecticut, again, maybe a situation that happened to you in prison, a lot of connections. We're in Connecticut. Where is the WWE located? Connecticut.
Connecticut.
So I'm not suggesting, but if you're a conspiracy theorist, you might put two and two together and go, this seems a little fishy.
Yeah. The court system in the United States of America, along with the judges and the DAs, they're all crooked. They're all fucked. Oh, every goddamn one of them. And money talks and bullshit walks. And that's just a fact of life. That it's money that turns the wheels. And so I told the lawyer, Wild Bill, I called him. I says, I don't think we have a snowball's chance in hell of winning anything in Connecticut, especially against McMahon. I said he'll dump $50-100 million into this thing. And, oh yeah.
The government tried to sue him. Multiple people tried to sue him. And only in the past couple of years has something stuck because stock market prices were affected by allegations of him in women. So all these little pieces add together, and we have a board of directors going, well, your infidelities are ruining our business model, so you need to get out of here. And I think that's exactly why it was a lawsuit with it can be pictured, unfortunately, it can be pictured of a bunch of old wrestlers are upset they're not making money anymore, so they want to sue. So that's how they paint that picture on you.
Oh, sure.
Versus women being abused by a rich man. Well, that's the picture other people are painting, and that looks a lot worse on a stock market than a bunch of older wrestlers who don't longer work here for us who are upset. So yeah, you're right. The court system doesn't matter if you're a Democrat, a Republican. It doesn't matter. Everyone walks to the beat of the money drum.
Well, tits and ass are always going to win out over a bunch of old broken down wrestlers.
That's probably true too.
Yeah,
that's probably true. Probably true. I can't confirm or deny that, but probably true. Probably true. Though you've done so much. You were actually a part of the inaugural Survivor Series as well in 1987. You're so forever first Intercontinental Champion, and you were technically in the first main event of Survivor Series 1987. Now, to a lot of historians, I think this is very important because at the time there weren't a lot of pay-per-views. To some people, they might go 1987 is a long time ago, but guess what? I don't care. I still think it's the greatest thing of all time. How does it make you feel putting that kind of on your resume of first technically Intercontinental Champion and main eventing the first ever Survivor Series? Does that matter to you?
For history's sake, sure.
Yeah, right. Doesn't put money in your pocket.
I was in the first SummerSlam too.
That's true. 88, right?
Yeah, in 88. That was the first SummerSlam. I wrestled Bad News Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's passed away now. He was in the Olympics too.
I know there's a lot of wrestlers who I think no one knows like their backstory. It's usually like, oh, you're Ken Patera, you're this wrestler, but it's like your father is someone, your brother is someone. Like there's a history in your family, and I think people don't know that, and I think that's why I think your book is going to be Weight of the World is going to be something that people need to pick up to get more information, because I unfortunately, honestly, the story I heard of you, I watched you years ago because I would double stack VHS tapes with VCRs in Pirate, Survivor Series, and SummerSlam, and WrestleManias, and watch you. That's how I was introduced to you. But then later on, I discovered you through the unfortunate nature of what happened to you at McDonald's. And so I think those are the only things I think that surround you. But with this book, I think this is going to open up eyes to so much more than from your childhood to your upbringing to your gold medals to everything you've done in professional wrestling. So
Yeah,
I think you've done so much. But one thing, I love that. Look at that. Look at that again. Look
that's a
at
beautiful cover, huh?
who is that handsome man right there? I
Good looking son of a gun.
no kidding. What happened to him? No.
Yeah, right. Well, got old and gray and broken down, all arthritic,
Oh, the
about
world. Yeah.
14, 15 operations, knee replacements, hip replacements, shoulder. I've had, I don't know, nine replacements. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you don't want to do the job, but Father Time will make sure we all do the job at some point in life. But
Yeah.
he'll get us all. He will get us all. It doesn't matter. He'll drop that leg drop and
Yeah.
cup his hand and pose
Isn't
if you.
that's a shame.
It is true. Though, what was your relationship like with Hulk Hogan? Because everyone I know who was involved was when they saw him on the card that you were on, you thought, money in my pocket. So how does that feel when you would look and go, oh shit, he's on the card tonight? I'm gonna do well.
Yeah. Well, I was in the WWF in the late 70s, 77, what was it? I first went back there and did TV in 76. And then I started in January 77.
Mm.
And a couple weeks later, uh, I had Bobby Backlund's first match.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was down in a little town in New Jersey on the shore. Oh, God, what was the name of that town? Well, during the winter, it was like 3,000 people. During the summer, it was 50,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And I can't remember the name of the town now, just down from Philadelphia in New Jersey there. So that, and I worked with Bruno about 20, 25 times. Yeah, we sold out Madison Square Garden, Boston Garden, the Spectrum, and Philadelphia, the Igloo over in Pittsburgh. So we sold out everywhere we wrestled. And I wrestled him 3 times in each of those towns. And so then I worked with Andre quite a bit.
I'm up there.
Yeah, there he is, the big man himself. That son of a bitch would never let me pick up a bar tab or a food tab in a restaurant. Never. And I probably went out and drank and ate with him 500, 600 times because I wrestled Andre 600 times. And people said, well, God, how could you do that? I said, well, with singles matches, tag team matches, 6-man tags, 8-man tags, battle royals. I was in over 100 battle royals with him. Wow. And you add it all up. And I says, don't take it from me, take it from Andre. We were in the locker room one day, and this new kid comes in and says, God, have you ever wrestled Andre? I said, have I ever? I said, yeah, a few times. I said, Andre, how many times have we wrestled? He said, well, boss, he was playing cribbage with Arnold Skolin, and we were in Hartford, Connecticut. And so he said, probably 600 times. I said, yeah, I think you're right. I started adding up all the stuff, all the territories, Japan, everywhere that we had wrestled, about 600 times.
Wow.
Maybe more. But he was a good guy. Good guy. We became good friends right off the bat. A lot of people ask me, who didn't Andre like? I said, well, in the beginning, he didn't have any love for Hulk Hogan. And he despised Randy Savage.
Wow.
And in the beginning, he liked John Studd, but later on, he couldn't stand to be around him. Because John Studd thought he was a giant. He thought he was Andre's equal. Well, I was tag team partners with John Studd down in um, Georgia Championship Wrestling back in the 70s, mid 70s, I think
Hmm.
it was. And John was 6'8", weighed about 260 pounds, skinny, for being 6'8".
Right.
Next thing I know, he's on all kinds of steroids and growth hormone,
Yeah.
HGH. He's telling me about all this shit that he's on. And then I left Georgia and went up to North Carolina, the Crockett Promotions. And next time I see John was in North Carolina for Crockett Promotions. We were tag team partners. And then he was like 6'11".
Oh my.
Yeah, 340 pounds. And he get in the ring, he turned purple. I said, John, you got to get off that shit. You're killing yourself. Well, then we wind up back in the WWF a few years after that, and so on and so forth. And I retired SummerSlam 19, or was that Survivor Series? I can't remember, one of them.
That's
And
crazy.
I,
The John Studd thing, though, I remember hearing stories that the reason he died was because his organs were enlarged and his body couldn't handle the fact that suddenly he had enlarged everything inside his body because of all the growth hormones he was taking. An
yeah,
obsessive amount to try to reach the same heights as Andre the Giant, but clearly comparing yourself to others might not be the best idea in the business of professional wrestling because you're taking drugs to make yourself bigger or taller and stronger than the most popular big man ever.
yeah, right. Well, that's what happened. He killed himself.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know when did John die. Do you have any 88 or
Well, he
not?
he won. I don't know. He won the Royal Rumble in 1989, so he only stuck around for a little time after that. So I'm
Yeah,
gonna.
yeah,
So I would say early 90s is when he passed away because Andre passed away in 93. So Big John Studd passed away before him.
before.
So
Yeah.
because of growth hormones being
Yeah.
taken to an excessive amount, and obviously those were being prescribed.
Yeah, after I retired in '88, then John stayed for another year. And then after he retired, we were at some fairgrounds in Pennsylvania after that, doing an independent show. And I'm talking to him, man. He looked horrible, couldn't move. And I said, John, you still on that growth hormone? Well, he said that's best to stay on it, don't go off it. He was he was buying $30,000 worth of steroids and growth hormone every year, and he was getting it from a power lifter up in Ohio. Uh, I don't know if it was Akron or one of those Ohio towns, and I'm not going to mention his name.
No, you. I was going to say, please don't incriminate someone right now on my
Yeah,
show. We don't want to do that to the person. But
yeah,
again, these stories that you're sharing now, I think, are going to be a huge reason that people need to purchase your book. Let's say that beautiful cover one more time. Let's see. The Weight of the World, the story of Ken Patera, the ups, the downs, the lefts, the rights, the beautiful hair, that championship, the gold. Oh, there's so much more to talk about, but we want to save it for that book. Purchase it right now. You can even get an autographed version of this for a little extra money, and that to me is worth the price.
yeah. So, we're going to pre-sale it, and then I think for 34.95. It's almost 500 pages, for Christ's sakes. I put a lot of work into this thing, and a lot of good stories. And we're going to put it on sale for the public April Fool's Day, April April 1st.
What a perfect date.
Yeah, yeah,
Don't,
and I I I think it's going to be like 34.95, and then I'm going to sell it on websites.
Yeah.
Hopefully yours.
That's great. We will make sure that we support the great Ken Patera because of all the contributions you've given to the wrestling world and the stories you shared today with us. We greatly appreciate it. I am honored and I am privileged to be sat here and talk to Ken Patera today on 10 Count. It's been a pleasure. Weight of the World. Don't be a fool on April Fools. Purchase his book because it is a must read for all wrestling fans to know the history, the ups and the downs. Ken Patera, thank you so much for being here on 10 Count. I've been Steve Fall. He's been Ken Patera. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.